Welcome to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour. We are taking off today from London, England. As you can see, it is very cloudy and rainy in London. I've got live weather on. I did change the time. Currently, as I'm filming, it is 9:59 a.m. Eastern Time on January 1st, 2024. So it would be about 3 p.m. in London. I changed it to morning, but this is live weather. It looks like it's pretty rainy and cloudy. So we are definitely going to change the weather here. Let's zoom out, go to weather. And let's take it off live weather. Yeah, we've got it at 9:06. And we will say that it is clear skies today. On New Year's Day, 2024. We will be flying out of London, out of Heathrow, flying over London, looking at the sights, probably trying to get over to Dover, and then across the channel to France. Other than that, I have no set plans, so we'll kind of see what we stumble upon as we are flying. I am watching the Twilight Zone Marathon, the New Year's Eve / New Year's Twilight Zone Marathon on Sci-Fi. You might hear that a little bit in the background, but while we're flying, we will be listening to podcasts as always. I think we'll start with the Thursday, December 28th, 2023 episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show. We don't have any of the Sharp and Handley shows because they were off last week, the weekend between Christmas and New Year's. But we'll finish the Tony Kornheiser Show one. We'll decide what podcast we get into after that when we get there. There's a couple other options. Might do another Tony Kornheiser Show. We'll see. I'd have to go into the past farther. But anyway, we are taking off from Heathrow, and I'm going to fire up the Thursday, December 28th, 2023 episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Hi, it's Tony. On today's show, we'll find out what's for dinner at Michael's. Plus, we'll talk college football with Paul Feinbaum, and we'll get picks from James Bleepin Carville and Jeff 21 Ma. But first, commerce.
Previously on the Tony Kornheiser Show.
A Cornichon? Because a Cornichon is a pickle.
I was not thinking of the pickle.
Okay, it's not as big. You know what's a Cornichon? I don't know. I mean, you know me, Michael. I eat whatever's put in front of me. I'm an idiot, you know. But I wish you luck with that. I think that should be fun. How many do you have?
I don't know. I think it's probably 2 quail to a person, right? This will be like half the dinner.
Oh, okay. So it's not just a dinner of quail.
No, this is not a feast of quail.
The Tony Kornheiser Show is on now.
The Feast of Quail. It sounds like something in a Monty Python. The Feast of Quail. So, Michael, it's on the runway for tonight, right? It's on the runway.
Oh, no, one more day. 1 day more.
Really?
Another day until the quail.
Oh, okay. So there's no quail until Friday.
No, do you think I'm a restaurant? All you ask me is about what I'm cooking. No, tonight's going to be barbacoa.
Well, I just think that I think quail is going to be fun. I think that's going to be interesting, and I wondered, if you did any research on it. They're not big quail.
I know. I sort of have visions of like a medieval times or like Renaissance fair, just feasting on a leg of meat.
That's
a very dainty leg.
No silverware. Yeah, just eating meat.
No. Yeah, silverware was invented until the 1700s. Save the bones for Henry Jones because Henry
They don't eat no meat.
You don't need no meat. So what's tonight? Is there a tonight?
I told you, barbacoa, yes.
Okay.
So could you run through some of the specials for us, please?
Yeah, that's right. We'll order them. Yeah, that's great. All right, so I finished because I have nothing to do because I don't have a television show. And I have nothing to do, and it was raining all day, so I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. So I finished The Diplomat.
Oh, okay.
So it's 8 episodes, and for those of you, I can't spoil the ending because I don't know what happened because it's a cliffhanger situation.
Yeah.
Right? There's a big explosion, and there's a cliffhanger situation. Now, I have no idea who's caught in the explosion. I guess by the first show of the next season, if certain people don't show up, they will have been caught in the explosion.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's caught in the explosion. And I don't know what turn Kerry Russell's character is taking with the British foreign foreign secretary? I don't know. I don't have any idea at the moment. Although when she wore the red dress at the last episode, I thought, okay, this is a break from the past.
Yes.
This is an attempt by Kerry Russell's character to say, yeah, I'm out of here on this marriage. I'm out of here. I'm doing something different. I'm wearing red. So anyway, after I was done with the series, I went to the internet to read some of the reviews of the series, which I would never have done until I'm done. I don't care what somebody, I don't want somebody unduly influencing the way I come to the television set. And I love the show.
Did you go to Vulture?
Huh?
Did you go to Vulture for the review?
No, I went to Google or Yahoo, and I just typed in reviews.
Oh, and it just came up and you clicked on one?
So I read a few. I mean, I think the show has great pace. I don't care if it's realistic. I don't care if that's exactly how diplomats work. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be realistic for me. She's very, very smart. Her relationship with her husband is fabulous. And they seem like real people to me. And if she's probably a little frenetic for that job and probably a little too daring for that job, it's television. It's okay. So the reviews weren't great. Really? Yeah, I mean, there was one guy, they praised Kerry Russell, they praised her husband, they praised very much the guy who plays the Prime Minister of England. I think his name is Rory Kinnear in real life. He plays, is it Nickel Trowbridge or something like that, I think is the name of the character. But, you know, like one guy said, it doesn't happen this way. You know, I understand diplomacy, and it doesn't happen this way. And I just thought,
There's no fun in that.
yeah, you're a party pooper. Well, if they did it, if everybody did the show exactly how it happened, there wouldn't be a show. Because it'd be boring.
Yeah, so this was a review of like the entire arc of the show, not just episode by episode.
Right. You know, just said it
So I'd
was
say in a post Game of Thrones world, there's a sidecar of reading these reviews in real time right after the episode drops, and that's where you're looking for all the all the missing pieces that you didn't quite get, or just sort of snarky
I
comments.
never saw Game of Thrones, so I mean, I don't.
Yeah, it's now for a lot of other shows, but that sort of made it a lot bigger.
I made sure to watch all 8 before I delved into what people thought.
But
And I really enjoyed it.
Well, it's interesting because now you said they praised the show, but overall said, maybe not so great.
Right.
But everyone you talk to says, oh, have you seen The Diplomat? Like the word of mouth, the people love it. So,
And I love her. I mean, I think she's terrific.
well, she's great.
I just think she's terrific, and she's found it. One guy was criticizing her as an actress, saying, well, I don't think she could do comedy well. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe she couldn't do comedy well. We don't know, because she's not doing comedy. She's not called upon as the ambassador to the United Kingdom to get up and do 5 minutes of stand-up.
How about improvisational comedy?
She's not, you know, I mean, I felt that was really, I felt that, she'd evaluate her acting with the character and the words that are put in her mouth, right?
I mean, she is in the movie Cocaine Bear, so I think she's got a sense of humor on some level.
Right.
You know?
So anyway,
Did it make you feel like you wasted 10 hours?
not at all. It was 8 hours, and no, not at all. No, because I enjoyed it.
So do you have something next up that you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to watch now?
Well,
Cue up the Holdovers.
Well, The Holdovers is a movie.
Yeah,
I know.
Everyone insists that I watch Slow Horses, but again, Apple Television, I believe, costs $99.
I can probably share my login with you.
Well, then I would watch Have you seen Slow Horses, right?
Yes, yeah, we're all up to date with that. I
Right.
finally watched Holdovers last night, so I think you'll enjoy that.
Okay. And Sean, you watched Slow Horses?
Slow Horses is great. It's my favorite thing. Slow Horses and The Diplomat are my 2 favorite things in current production.
Okay. And Michael, did you like The Holdovers? Because you have the boarding school experience.
The visuals of it are stunning, and they got lucky with the weather because these are shot on campus, and they just happen into these snowy landscapes. So as the educator to me feels very uncomfortable because the parenting atrocious, the kids rotten, the teachers just disgusting. But there are these little pieces that come together from Catcher in the Rye when you think about the opening scene of the kids getting ready to go home. When you think about Outside Providence, any of these schools movies, that they just get small moments so perfect when you're alone on an empty campus and you're sort of running through or exploring that catacombs. So, but no, the educator in me also sitting there being like, the first thing you can't do is, there are no secrets. You can never have a secret with a person of authority. That's as one of my schools would call it, the slippery slope.
Yeah.
I know my mind went to racing how I would incorporate that movie into one of my electives, the coming of age in the modern world. But I'd look at the family that forms together, the holdovers. But when you think about the student who's left with one of his teachers and one of the women who works on staff in the kitchen, you look at the family that emerges there and the holiday that they're able to get together. That's where I'd go.
Lovely. Yeah. Lovely. And you liked it too.
I did, and I believe, if I'm
I think I saw you in some of the backgrounds.
I think I might have been an extra. It will be streaming on the Peacock, which I
don't get the Peacock.
You don't get the Peacock?
I used to get the Peacock, then they cut it off. Comcast made the Peacock available for free for a while, and now it's not available for free, and that's why I missed the Buffalo Bills game.
Oh, that's right, because it's only on
all
Peacock.
these streaming services that were for free are not for free anymore, and we looked just last night at what was for free, and it's junk. I mean, it's things from 1940. It's awful. Like Fubo is free, and there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
It's just junk.
Probably some good Abbott and Costello movies.
I don't care about. So now they get me to where I want to watch something, but I don't want a full year's subscription to watch one thing.
No, we'll work on that for you. If you stay with, because Netflix you have, right? Because that's what Diplomat is on?
Yes.
Then I would make the recommendation for Ozark, because you like Jason Bateman.
That's what Jeannie said also. Go right to Ozark.
I would say go into that.
So I have one other thing I wanted to talk about, and it's a sports story. We're not going to get to it because we have gambling today and we have Paul Feinbaum, and he's going to do college. And it is the jettisoning of Russell Wilson. And Wilbon and I have been fighting about Russell Wilson for 3 years. I have said time and again, Russell Wilson has slipped. He's no good. His last year in Seattle, I said, Mike, they kept Geno Smith over him. Geno Smith was a complete failure as a first-round draft pick, or something close to a first-round draft pick with the Jets, right? He was out of the league.
Yeah.
Geno Smith was out of the league, and you keep saying Russell Wilson is a Hall of Famer. And Pete Carroll, who a lot of players swear by, Pete Carroll traded away Russell Wilson and kept Geno Smith. And then Wilbon said, well, let's see what he does in Denver. Because he got hosed in Seattle. He didn't get hosed. Well, in Denver, he was terrible his first year. He was awful. And I said, he's awful. And Wilbon said, it's not him. It's the coach.
It's Hackett.
It's Nathaniel Hackett. Hackett stinks. Get him with a good coach. So this year I said, is he with a good coach? And Wilbon said, maybe. I said, wait a second, Mike. Sean Payton took a small quarterback in Drew Brees, made him a Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterback. Sean Payton did that. Russell Wilson is the same size as Drew Brees. And Wilbon conceded that was a good spot. Well, Sean Payton has turned on Russell Wilson. He's cut him. He's essentially cut him. He's putting Jarrett Stidham in to start, saying we need a spark on offense, which is a very good line and laughable. Kerry Russell could do that line. She could do light comedy with that line. It's laughable. It's laughable. They want to get rid of Russell Wilson because they don't want to pay him all the money that they owe him. They owe him $37 million for this year, which they have to pay, and probably $39 for next, which they're going to have to pay. But they can get out of about $40 million after that. Because it was a terrible trade that Denver made to get Russell Wilson with Seattle. It's an awful trade. And a lot of us looked at it at the time and said, this is an awful trade. What are you doing? Well, it seems clear to me that Russell Wilson, when you say, just let Russ cook, he can't cook. He's not a great quarterback anymore. Could he go to Washington and be effective, better than the guy they got? Sure. Could he go to Pittsburgh and be better than Kenny Pickett? Sure. Could he go to New England and be better than Zappi And Mac Jones, sure, he could. He's better than them. He's better than them. Is he a great quarterback anymore? No. No, he's not. And Wilbon was almost on the verge of conceding this yesterday in a conversation that we had. Because, I mean, he had all the chances. Now, what I found interesting, and I watched earlier today, I watched the Get Up show, where they had players from the NFL, and these were Pro Bowl players. And what players do, invariably, because they're players take the side of the player. They pointed out, nobody's going to not pay Sean Payton his money. It's only players that don't get their money because of the contracts that they sign. They get only the guaranteed money, and you can cut them at some point. And players, the two players, and maybe he was a third player, were on Russell Wilson's side and felt he was abused publicly by Sean Payton, who yelled at him at the sidelines. It's a clip you show all the time. And I found myself concurring with, you don't want to yell at the player on the sideline. You don't. Because everything's on television now. Every single thing. Yeah. You don't want to yell at the player. The player can't really yell back, but you can just walk away. And Russell Wilson didn't. He took it. But I don't find myself siding with the players that Russell Wilson is going to go out somewhere else and be great. They didn't say it would be great, but they think he's got something left, and they think he's been treated badly by Sean Payton. Whereas the general manager guy, Tannenbaum, said everybody knew this was going to happen. Because Sean Payton didn't trade for him. Sean Payton would not have, this is Tannenbaum's words, Sean Payton would not have taken the job. He would not have signed the contract with Denver if he didn't have the ability to make personnel decisions. And of course, Russell Wilson's contract would have come up in negotiations with ownership. Of course it would have. Because it was a contract that bound them together for 4 years for a tremendous amount of money. So I found that was the interesting part to me, that the players sided with the player and management sides with management. And if I were there, I would have sided with myself, and I would have said, look, now he had a great stretch of about 6 games this year. A great stretch. The last 3, not so much. I just would have said, I'm not sure he's your long-term answer at a team that's trying to build. I think there are lots of teams where he'd be better than he is at Denver, and this doesn't surprise me. But there is that bond that players have with players. That if a coach cuts you, or a GM cuts you, or somebody trades you, players always side with players and point out, we have no ability to say no. So that, like basketball players who call their own shots, James Harden, here's where I want to go. If I don't go there, I'm staying with you, and you can pay me for the rest of the time. Basketball players all approve of that. All approve of that because they know that ultimately their only power is their ability. They're not owners. They're not GMs. They're not coaches. They don't sit in that same small room and make lasting decisions. They don't do that. That's how it works. We'll take a break. Paul Feinbaum, yes? Paul Feinbaum. We're going to talk about college football with Paul when we return. I'm Tony Cornelius.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify's got you covered, and help is there to support your success. Their dog's food. No, amazing.
Better known as Changes. It's by a band with a fabulous name, Post-Sex Nachos. And Todd Hart, formerly of Colby, Wisconsin, and now Sheboygan, Wisconsin, writes, your other favorite band from the zoo, better known as Post-Sex Nachos, wanted to be known that while Norwegian Soft Kitten is an excellent name, they feel theirs is right up there. They have a new album coming out in January. They're touring all over the country. You can use the Google machine to find them in your area. They'll be playing at the DC 9 nightclub in Washington, D.C. on March 24th. And obviously, tickets for you, Michael and Nigel, can be made available. I'm sure we can add Elvis to the list, well, because he has a better chance of showing up than you do. They always see a boost in downloads and really appreciate the exposure on the show. Here's a new single, Changes. It's actually very good. It's very good. It's got the elements of David Bowie in it.
Yes, yeah.
Post-Sex Nachos and Changes, and they play in Paul Feinbaum. We're going to talk college football. Look, I'm going to go on a rant. Cut me off whenever you want. And it starts out all this bleeding over FSU, and then their quarterback enters the transfer portal and isn't going to play in this game. all of this FSU, really? Am I wrong on this?
Tony, you're so right. It's scary. I mean, I hate even to return to the scene of the crime of 3 weeks ago, but it wasn't even the FSU people that bugged me. It was just the fake outrage everywhere I went. Long story short, a couple of days later, I was going to a Christmas party on my neighborhood, something I really don't like doing, because that means actually talking to neighbors, but my wife wanted to go. And we walked in, and I literally haven't, I don't think I've talked to this couple in 8 years, but, they're from New Jersey or wherever. Everybody on my block is from New Jersey. And the woman said, "Oh my goodness, I saw you on Morning Joe Monday talking about Florida State." I go, "Oh yeah." I said, "You watch Morning?" "Oh, I love Morning Joe." She said, "But how in the world could you say Florida State doesn't belong in there? I mean, those kids deserved it." And I'm like, you couldn't name, you probably still think Bobby Bowden is coaching Florida State. I mean, I literally wanted to turn her out, but I had not eaten or had anything to drink all day, so at least I grabbed some free food and got out there as fast as I could.
Yeah, Florida State, shut up. And then your quarterback, Rodemack, or whatever his name is, now you're down to a third-string quarterback. I hope you lose by 80. And this is exactly how I felt, and I was so happy. I said this yesterday, Paul. I was so happy when James Madison got crushed by Air Force, because the people in the state legislature in Virginia actually used the words, "We're going to declare war on the NCAA for their abuse of power and not letting James Madison into a big bowl game." Really? You just lost to a team that hasn't been ranked since 1947, right? Am I right on that? Shut up, James Madison.
And it was the politicians in Florida that also jumped up and down. I mean, Ron DeSantis, you may have heard his name somewhere. He's somewhere in single digits in New Hampshire and Iowa right now. He said we're going to earmark $1 million for what I don't know. I mean, you hate to give the CFP, that's the College Football Playoff Committee, any credit at all, because I don't like the way they do it. They're not transparent. But in this case, they were right.
Yes.
I mean, everybody forgot. Alabama went out and beat the number one team in the country. That did not happen in the eyes of these bleeding Florida State Seminole fans.
No, you're 100% right. Now, they would never have gotten in if the defensive coordinator at Auburn wasn't guilty of a fireable offense, because they would have had 2 losses and they would not have gotten in. But that didn't happen. Coaches leave as well. The JMU guy just left. He's not coaching. Is he coaching them against the Air Force? No, he left. The Duke guy left. Everybody's leaving, and it is a dismantling. And the corollary effect of having the playoff, and I like the playoff, though I don't want 12, I want 8, but it doesn't matter. I like the playoff. I like the certainty of it. But the corollary effect is to dismantle all the other bowls, right, Paul?
Yeah, but Tony, people are acting like this just happened overnight. The bowl system has been comatose for almost 10 years. I mean, they're barely in business. And frankly, if it wasn't for ESPN, they wouldn't be in business. ESPN owns, I don't know, maybe 18 out of the 32 bowls. Maybe they may even own more than that. So they're television events. And by the way, they're good television.
Yeah.
Starting at 11:30 and going till 1 in the morning. I mean, is there something else on television right now?
No, they enabled Wilbon and I to be off for a full week. We're very grateful. We're very grateful.
That's the point. They're on television thanks to ESPN, maybe with an occasional game somewhere else. And there's something else that's very important in all this, and that's the Vegas betting line. That's what keeps people watching these silly games.
Well, I mean, I've never heard of Famous Toastery, and I don't know much about Tax Slayer, and everybody gloms onto a bowl. I actually was gratified to see that USC, that not only, because Caleb Williams is going pro and he didn't want to play in a game and get hurt, but he stood on the sideline the whole time. And he seemed delighted for the guy who took his place, who, by the way, had 6 touchdown passes, right?
Yeah, and I don't blame him, but you're right. I mean, I don't understand why these guys at least can't go to the game. And, I mean, by the way, you get, free headphones, who knows what else they give out. I mean, that used to be a big deal. 40, 50 years ago, you and I covered ball games.
That's right.
It was a week-long event, and you might have gotten something free out of the deal.
There was, I remember wanting always to cover the Orange Bowl. And the reason to cover the Orange Bowl was there was this small little cruise in Miami Bay, which was totally catered by Joe's Stone Crab. And so I said, why wouldn't I want to go to the Orange Bowl and have Joe's Stone Crab? Right? You remember that, Paul, when they used to do that?
Yeah, I have to. You mentioned Joe Stone Crab, which reminds me of a famous story. I asked Nick Saban about this about 7 years ago, and he still looked at me like I was crazy. But whenever Saban was at the Miami Dolphins, the second or third week of camp, George W. Bush came to Miami and wanted to put together a dinner in the back of Joe's Stone Crab with Dan Marino and Don Shula and Nick Saban. Just, a fun night out for the president. And Saban said no. He didn't have, there was no way he was leaving training camp for 3 hours to have dinner with the president of the United States. I asked him about this. I was in his office about 7 or 8 years ago, and he said, why would I do that? I said, well, he's the president of the United States. He said, I had camp. I wasn't leaving. I said, okay, good for you.
Okay. Well, that leads me into something. That you will find interesting if I'm sure you know it. Nick Saban's record, when he has a month to prepare for games, which would either have been the BCS final game or one of the current 4-team semifinals in the college football playoff. His record is 10-1. Doesn't that tell us that they're going to beat Michigan?
They should, and for whatever reason, people know this, but Michigan is still favored, which is one of the quirkiest things I've ever seen, Tony. I'll leave it to you to find out exactly why, and even the crazy FPI on the bottom line has Michigan 56%. It's hard to, people do go broke betting against Nick Saban. That's a fact. So you either go with the trend or you take a look at, you take a gander on Jim Harbaugh, who was one of the worst postseason college coaches.
0 for 6 in his last 6. 0 for 6 in his last 6. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's how you bet. I think Alabama's going to win the game, but I'm not just convinced of it because of what you said a minute ago. I mean, there were 6 games this year that they were in for their lives, including. I mean, they were under a 1% chance of beating Auburn, which is a really crummy team.
How could they not fire the defensive coordinator that day? How could they not?
Yeah, and for those who don't remember, they rushed 2.5 men. I know that was a TV show. That's what they did. And Jalen Miller had 11.8 seconds to throw a winning touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone.
It's terrible. Okay, let me get back to Michigan. I've been told this anecdotally. I didn't see it, but maybe it is in fact true, that when the Michigan team was gathered for the reveal of who they would play, when they found out it was Alabama, they were totally deflated. You could see it physically. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I was watching it live, and it looked like they found out they had to play the Miami Dolphins. They were deflated because they were counting on playing Florida State, a school they knew they would beat fairly easily because Florida State, in spite of all the bleeding hearts, including my next door neighbor, was somewhat fraudulent, really, in terms of they had 3 significant games all year. They won, but they in no way were they to me among the 4 or 5 best teams. So yeah, they said and I don't blame them. Nobody wanted Tony, you just got through saying, why would you want to play Alabama and in a postseason game?
No, you don't. Let me go to the other game. Washington, and I don't know this. I don't. But it seemed to me that the Pac-12 in its last year was pretty good. And Washington won it, and they beat Oregon twice, and everybody said Oregon would beat them twice. Is Washington undervalued?
I think they are. And the first Oregon game, they had no business winning, but they did. Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback, is elite. The coach who comes, I think, from North or South Dakota. I'm not really sure there's a difference. But he's an amazing. He's done an amazing job. And by the way, I mean, this is a school that had Chris Peterson, that's had a big-time tradition, Don James 30 years ago.
They won championships. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a school that has done it before, and he's done it. I like Texas in the game only because I'm far more familiar with them, and I think they have talent. A tremendously larger group of talent. But Washington has been a phenomenal story.
I think people would like. I honestly think that there's no wrong game here. I do think an Alabama-Texas game would draw more than a Michigan-Washington game, but I don't think there's a wrong here. I'll get you out of here on this. How are you on going to 12 teams? I think 8 is fine. I think 12's too many. I don't want to get involved every single year with somebody saying, oh, they left so-and-so out. When you get to 12, shut up. I mean, there aren't 12 good teams. There aren't.
No, there really aren't more than 4 or 5. What people don't realize is that thanks to the NFL, Tony, the college football is going to be relegated to Thursday and Friday night. The playoffs would have began last week. They would be on Thursday and Friday because of the obvious. You can't break into the weekend anymore in December. So, I mean, some of these games are going to be miserable. I mean, we're talking like Liberty and Alabama. At Alabama. But the games I'm most interested in when the Southern School, when Georgia has to go to Wisconsin or Penn State on a Thursday night, December 18th in the rain and 14 degrees.
Right. Yeah, nobody really wants. Yeah, I don't know. I think that 12 is just too many, and to guarantee spots to Liberty and James Madison, let's look at the ACC for a second, which is second-rate conference. It's a great basketball conference. It's a second-rate football conference. Their second-best team, Louisville, has now lost like 20 games in a row, right? I mean, they lost last night. They're no good, and that's the second-best team.
And listen, all you need to know about the ACC is that their best team has just sued the league to get out.
That's right.
And that's another part of the FSU crying game. And they just took in 3 teams, 3 schools: Cal, Stanford, and SMU. If you're taking in Cal and Stanford in today's world, where Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC, and Oregon and Washington and Southern Cal, then you are heading for the abyss.
Yeah, you lose. SMU within 2 years will win the league every single year, and then just laugh because they don't care about the money. They got their own money.
They're not making a dime for 8 years, I don't think.
No, they don't care. You want money? I'll show you money. Around the back, I'll show you money. This is SMU money. Paul, such a pleasure. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for waking up. Thank you.
Pleasure mine, Tony.
Paul Feinbaum, boys and girls. We'll take a break. We hope to have Carville.
Carville has checked in. We feel confident.
Okay, we're going to have Jeff Ma, but we hope to have Carville as well. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
When the whole family comes together to watch the game, nobody wants to miss a second of the action to run involved. It's
You see the same darn thing. You find no food upon the table bar. There's no fork up in the pan. But you better not complain, boy.
Get in trouble with the man. James Carville with his own walk-up music. Paul Evans Midnight Special. This week's picks with James Carville and Jeff Ma. Brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. You are sitting on 4-1 right now from last week. You are waiting for Rutgers and Miami, which is tonight, I think, and you've got Rutgers, right? I think I got that right.
I did. The Scarlet Knights. Yeah, Rutgers, they're coming around a little bit.
The coach there was there before, and he's a good coach. Schiano, he's a good coach.
Yeah, he did. He was real good, and he went to go to Miami or somewhere.
He went to the pros, and it was a disaster, and then he went back. He went to work for Nick Saban for an hour and a half, as everybody does for rehab, and then he went back to Rutgers, and he is a good coach, Greg Schiano. He is. He's good. All right. So
Auburn, Maryland.
Yeah, that's your first one. You're going to take Maryland over Auburn.
I am. 7 points.
Okay, and that's in the Trans-Perfect Music
Center. Don't ask me.
Are you going to take Maryland? Because tell me why you're going to take Maryland. Why? Tell me why.
Because I've seen Auburn play a lot.
Yeah, and they're no good.
They're not that good. They've had a disappointing year. I mean, they should have beat
State last night. You won the
I
East.
know, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to
Yes.
Cowboys. I got
Okay.
right? And
What else you
got
got?
more Cowboys coming, okay?
Right?
Alabama and Michigan. Right? So, you're giving Nick Saban points?
Yes. Yeah. It's just
I
amazing,
think we're
right?
going with Alabama here.
Nobody understands that. All right, and you got 3 pro picks. What are your pro picks?
I got the Lions and the Cowboys.
Right?
We're going Cowboys. I got 3 Cowboys in 3 days.
That's right.
I got Oklahoma State, Wyoming, and Dallas. All right,
That's
the
a whole
Cowboys
game.
are -6.
Right.
Yeah, -6. Because it doesn't make sense. The Cowboys lost to Miami. The Lions are hot. But Dallas plays 10 times better than Dallas had to do Dallas.
100%. 100%.
And the other one that doesn't make sense, so you got to take it, is the Colts are -3.5 against the Raiders.
Uh-huh.
Take the Colts.
Why does that not make sense to you?
Well, because didn't the Raiders have one hell of a game against the
They
Chiefs
did.
or something?
Yes, they did.
And
They beat the
it's
Chiefs.
giving you it's 3.5. They enticing you to bet the dog. They're begging you.
Right.
Don't
bet
walk
the
into
dog.
that trap.
Okay.
Right? That's the sucker bet.
Okay.
And the Pack and the Vikes, to make it fun, let's take the over 46.
Over. You went down the drain on it over a couple of weeks ago. You're not reluctant to go back on the over. All right. I just want to
You
make
know, the
sure.
best time to get on the horses right after you've been thrown.
Okay. All right, James.
All right. Happy New Year.
You too. James Carville, boys and girls. It's always
Only a couple bleeps
so
from James.
wonderful.
Only a
Yes.
couple.
Well, yeah, but that if there were no bleeps,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be any fun.
We would think
At
something
first,
was
I
wrong.
thought he was waiting at a light with that turn signal, but I think it might have been his flashers.
You think he pulled
I
over?
think that
You
was.
think he pulled over with the hazards on?
I mean, either that or it's the ticking clock from Captain Hook.
It was really weird, right? Like I didn't know what to say about that. Why that noise was going on?
I thought it was the turn signal, but yeah, you're right. Maybe it was. Maybe
Well,
so.
That's a long light.
That's a long light. That's a 5-minute light. I mean, Louisiana has different rules than we've got.
That is very true.
But that's a long light. All right. So this is one of the bowls is the Trans-Perfect
Music
City Bowl. I don't know what Trans-Perfect means, but I assume that would then be in Nashville.
I'm guessing that's got to be in Nashville, right?
And
Music City.
there's also a New Year's Eve show out of Nashville this year on one of the networks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. New Year's Eve, Nashville.
Nashville's the center of the universe, right?
Yes, I guess that's true. Do we have Jeff?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
there he
Jeff
is.
Ma's with us. Jeff had...
See how chipper I am right now, by the way? It's so much
Because
later now.
It's later. I know, this is a reasonable time for you. Reasonable time. Let me tell people what Jeff Ma is doing in the last 4 weeks. Jeff Ma last week was 4-1. In the last 4 weeks, he's 16, 13, and 1. You are killing it late. Started out bad. Started out 0-5. But you're killing it late. Do you have a theory about that? Do you have any feelings about that?
No, I mean, I think, again, when I was 0-5, you asked me if I doubted myself and all this kind of stuff, and, there were some dark moments there, but ultimately, you kind of believe in the process, and you do the same thing, and the results will come eventually. You can't be too short-term results driven, just because I'm really hot right now doesn't mean like the next few weeks will be any better than they are traditionally. So, you try to win close to, 58% of the games, then you're winning enough to beat the vig, and that's the goal. And so I'm just glad we've been able to, make a pretty big comeback this year.
All right, a couple of questions. In a very surprising drubbing, I'm not saying Baltimore is not better than San Francisco, but in San Francisco to beat them that badly, what does that change in terms of Super Bowl odds?
Yeah, I mean, shockingly enough, it doesn't change things that much. I mean, the Ravens, I think they went from about 5-1 to roughly about 4-1. The Niners were about 2-1, and now they're about 2.5-1. There's been a slight change. Rufus said on Bet the Process this week that it kind of would have adjusted the point spread on those two teams by about 2 points. So, the Ravens closed as 6.5-point underdogs against San Francisco. Now they'd probably close about 4.5. In the Super Bowl, if it were to be played right now on a neutral, they'd probably be close to a 2-point underdog. So the 49ers would likely still be favored.
Really?
They played, even though everyone saw that happen.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and the other thing is the 49ers are still in a really good position to get that number one overall seed. So from a standpoint of actually changing things,
Right.
it didn't change things that much. The Ravens still have what many believe to be a more difficult path. Having, the Bills look good now, the Chiefs look good. Like there's Team Miami, there's teams that they're going to have to play. Whereas the Eagles seem to be pretty down. And so ultimately Dallas, it's a matter of how good you think Dallas is. And so the Niners still, it seems like, have an easier route. And, that game did not change that much in terms of their ability to get the number one seed.
All right, what about the college football playoff lines? We just had Carville on, and he said, are you kidding me? You're going to give me Nick Saban and points? Of course I'm going to take that. What do you make of those two sets of odds in which I guess Michigan should be favored because they're number one, but it's hard to believe, right?
I don't know if it's hard to believe. Michigan's now up to a 2.5-point favorite across some of the places. I kind of like Michigan in that. I don't know at 2.5, but certainly lower than that. I like them. I mean, Alabama hasn't been that good this year, and the best game they played obviously was against Georgia.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. This is one of those things where at the end of the year, you look back on a college football season, and an NFL season, and you kind of wonder how much should I weigh what actually happened on the field versus what I thought about the two teams going into the season. Because ultimately, and you see it like in the NCAA basketball tournament, you see it in some of these bowl games, the teams that win are the teams with the most talent. And going into this season, you probably would have said Alabama was as good, if not better, on the from a talent perspective than Michigan. So, I understand where Carville's coming from, certainly, but if you weigh what happened on the field this year, Michigan should certainly be favored.
Okay, give us what you got for this week.
All right, so we're going to start, we're going to do all NFL. We're going to do Dallas -6 over Detroit. These games are interesting because these teams that aren't going to get byes, this is really their last time that they're going to probably play with their whole team intact. But the next week they'll probably rest guys,
Yes.
unless they have something to play for. Dallas won't. I kind of think they're going to try to get right in this game. If you look, at their home versus away, and you look at Detroit's home versus away, this just seems to line up for a Dallas comfortable win. So I'm going to take Dallas -6.
Okay, what else?
I'm going to take Miami plus the 3.5 over Baltimore. Obviously the narrative is Baltimore's physical. Miami doesn't like the physical nature of those teams, but Baltimore is in a tough spot. Coming back, cross country, short rest, in a game that obviously is important, but they came off a very emotional win, as an underdog against the Niners. And I see this as, if Baltimore wins this game, it's probably by a field goal or less. And I think Miami has a legitimate shot to win this game.
Okay, what else?
I'm going to take Chicago -3 over Atlanta.
You love them.
Riding the
You
Chicago.
love the Chicago Bears. Wilbon would be so happy.
It's me trying to ingratiate myself to Wilbon. One day I'll get to hang out in Scottsdale with him.
North Scottsdale. Scottsdale is for peasants. Scottsdale's for peasants. North Scottsdale.
Yeah.
What's the line on this? How much is this, Chicago?
-3.
They're favored?
And-
They're favored over Atlanta? Wow.
They're favored over Atlanta. Well, Atlanta hasn't really done much. Last week obviously they played well against Indy, and with Heineke in there,
Yeah.
it seems like they're a better team. But Heineke can turn the ball over. He's going to make some stuff happen, both good and bad. Chicago's a team that can turn you over and can I like the way Fields is. I like the way the Chicago team's playing. So I'm going to
Okay.
take them -3.
Okay, what else?
I'm going to take Tampa -2.5. Again, another team we've been riding.
Yes.
Really healthy right now. We don't think New Orleans is very good. We've been saying that on this podcast for a while. And I like Tampa under a field goal.
Okay, one more?
And then I'm going to take Las Vegas plus the 3.5 over Indy. I do worry a little bit about, Las Vegas coming off a very emotional win. A team that sort of like really had their number historically, so coming off that win. And obviously,
Chiefs,
like Aiden O'Connell didn't do anything to inspire confidence. He didn't complete a pass after the first quarter despite that win. But that defense is playing really well. And you just look at what they've done the last 3 games defensively. It's been great. It's just if their offense can put enough points. So I like catching points against Indy here.
So what is interesting, the Miami-Baltimore game is very interesting to me in this regard. Both teams last week had huge games. They both won, Miami and Baltimore. So it's not like if there's going to be a letdown, you can't predict which team would have the letdown, right? Because they both had enormous games.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, obviously, I think the Miami situation, being at home and then just traveling up to Baltimore versus,
Cross
Baltimore
country
being off this short week. These short weeks, like the travel, it's not like the rest as much. It's the prep. It's everything that you lose with that 1 day of travel and also the 1 day fewer to prep and rest.
And Miami gets lucky to some degree. It's not going to be snow. It's not going to be brutally cold. It'll be in the high 30s, low 40s. It'll be in the 40s. It'll be in the 40s. You can play in that, right? I mean, it's not winter. So.
Yeah, I mean, certainly weather will play a big impact. And it's interesting because they've looked at this weather stuff. It's not just when you play. It's like the climate you're in and how you acclimate to that climate. It's just that temperature does make a big difference. I think we saw that a little bit with Dallas going up to Buffalo a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I think it's a good point to bring up, Tony. Ultimately, if it's only in the 40s, it shouldn't be that big a deal.
All right, so I'm not going to hold you to this, but which two teams do you like in the college games?
I mean, I like Texas. I think that line, the Washington team is just, they're very hard to figure out because they seem to play to their competition. So from an analytics perspective, that was the reason that Oregon was such a big favorite against them in the Pac-12 championship, is because Washington had just scraped by against some bad teams, but they seem to step up when they play good teams. The two best games they played were against Oregon. So, and Michael Penix Jr., and he's got elite wide receivers everywhere. He's so accurate. They're hard to stop, but I think Texas is just a better overall team. I think Texas, I like Texas to win the whole thing. I think they can win this game, and then I think they can win the next game. But I like Texas and Michigan to meet in the final.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. As always, you can listen to Jeff and Rufus on Bet the Process. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tony.
Jeff Ma, boys and girls. We'll take a break. We have email and jingle. When we return, I'm Tony Kornheiser.
My 13-year-old acts like a puppy again.
Kornheiser Show.
That's from Virginia Beach. That's from the John B. Dye School Chorus. Virginia Beach, Virginia. Very, very lovely. You want to do the Bethesda Bagel ad?
Yes, Bethesda Bagels. We love them. You will as well. Just go to BethesdaBagels.com for the location in the DC area nearest you. Then pop on in, and you will be thrilled.
Alrighty then, that's going to do it for us today. Before we get to the mailbag, let me just say, I'll tell you what. I'll swear you're doing a great job taking care of his car. But you parked it out back last night, and this morning it was gone. D-Day takes care of the wreck, we report it to the police, and your brother's insurance company buys him a new car. Will that work? Hey, it's got to work better than the truth. Of course, everybody knows that's Animal House.
And I believe the next line is Belushi. Belushi says to Dorfman, my recommendation is to start drinking heavily.
Of course. It's Dorfman's car was ruined. Of course. It's his brother's car. Thanks to our guests today, Paul Feinbaum, maybe James Carville, Jeff Ma. Thanks to today's sponsors. Remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Odyssey. If you get the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. So here are some emails, and the first one comes from Dennis Brown in South Bend, Indiana, who says, thought you guys would find this of interest. The microwave chef explains herself. Now, this is a very famous British chef, right? Nigella Lawson?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to read what was sent to us. She's setting the record straight on her iconic mispronunciation. 3 years ago, the celebrity chef mispronounced microwave on an episode of her UK cooking show, Eat, Cook, Repeat. The British chef, 63, was explaining the steps on how to make brown butter colcannon. Is that what it's called, colcannon? While the interesting pronunciation slipped from her mouth. I still need a bit of milk, full fat, that I've warmed up in the microwave, she says in the clip, which quickly caused an uproar on social media. I wasn't aware I'd said it because that's what I call it at home, Lawson told BBC's John Kay for an episode of BBC Breakfast, which aired on Christmas. At the time, people were debating if Lawson really pronounces microwave that way, so the chef clarified that she does, but not because I think that's how it's actually pronounced. Now, Lawson says the whole ordeal has changed the way she pronounces the word again. It's made me self-conscious, she told Kate. I tend to refer to it as the you-know-what. Wow. Wow. So that's really interesting. There's another... in 2021, Lawson told People she understood why some viewers thought she was serious about the pronunciation. I did it with a straight face, I suppose. I just assumed that's what she thought it was.
It sounds like she just says it for a lark at home. Like I need people that used to pronounce Roy Rogers, Roy Roger.
Really?
Just for a lark. You know?
Tarjay?
Tarjay, exactly, Tarjay.
Yeah, I just thought it was the first time she saw the word.
Wait a second, doesn't your wife pronounce Bojangles differently?
Bojangles?
Hi, Ray. That's right. That's what she says all the time.
Maybe get us started on Chipotle.
Okay, bobbleheads. Ben from Quincy in Massachusetts. In regards to the bobblehead discussion in Wednesday's mailbag, you appear unaware of the recognition bestowed upon you by the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A bobblehead of you and Mike on the BTI set is on prominent display in their permanent collection, photo enclosed, added to the list of your half-off accolades. It doesn't look anything like us. Where did they get it? It doesn't look anything like either of us. Wow, but that's very nice. Flattered. Ronnie Newmeyer writes, I heard mention of Afternoon Delight in the running for worst song ever, and I had to chime in, as it involves my two favorite things, music and name dropping. Afternoon Delight was written by my friend Bill Danoff, who, as you noted, is a longtime DC resident, as were Starland Vocal Band. Bill gets a smile on his face every time the song is mentioned in the worst song list, and its inclusion over the years in many movies and TV shows, such as Anchorman and The Simpsons, has surely kept the mailbox money flowing his way. Afternoon Delight went to number 1 in July of 1976, the week of the bicentennial, and Starland Vocal Band won 2 1977 Grammy Awards for Best New Artist and for Best Vocal Arrangement, which was done by then 19-year-old Starland member John Carroll, who was also a pillar of the DC music scene. Starland were also nominated for 3 more Grammys that year, including Song of the Year and Record of the Year. That led to Starland getting a short-lived ABC TV variety show that featured weekly appearances by a young unknown comedian named David Letterman. Bill Danoff and his former wife, Taffy Nivert, also co-wrote Take Me Home Country Roads with John Denver while opening for him at the old Cellar Door nightclub in the 70s. Danoff was also a classmate of Bill Clinton in the 1968 Georgetown University class. In 1994, Danoff contacted me to play bass for his Georgetown class reunion held on the White House lawn. I performed with Bill Danoff and a reunited Starland Vocal Band on Afternoon Delight and Take Me Home Country Roads. I also backed up Chuck Berry, who headlined that night, but that's another story. There's a picture of Ronnie and Bill Danoff at the White House in 1994. So that's everything you wanted to know. It's more than everything you wanted to know, but I thank Ronnie for that.
Yes.
From Tom Pace at John Carroll University, where Brian Polian is now. He's the AD.
Oh, that's right, yes.
That's his alma mater.
Love Brian.
Dear Mr. Tony, I will gladly pay your monthly Apple TV bill to hear you talk about Gary Oldman's Jackson Lamb and Slow Horses. If Jackson Lamb wasn't created for Mr. Tony, then no TV character has ever been. Watch it now. All right, I'll just send the bills to you. Everybody says this.
Yeah.
That Slow Horses is great.
Yeah.
He chews all of his scenes.
He does, but he has contempt for everyone and everything.
Yes.
It's amazing.
From Bob Moore in Chattanooga, on Wednesday's show, you incorrectly stated that Ralph Nader targeted the Ford Pinto. That was the Corvair, but he also had the Pinto. Actually, it was the Corvair, he's right, in which he effectively killed production after the book Unsafe at Any Speed. Yes. And I remember the song they used to have for Corvair. In the old days, they had songs for everything. And it was something like, who makes the floor flat and clear, Corvair, because the engine was in the back.
Oh.
So the floor in the car was flat. There were no bumps.
So the front was like with the hood was a trunk?
Yeah, that was the trunk. Yeah, that was the trunk. But Bob Moore is completely right. Appreciate that. From Jim Hickey in Springfield, Virginia, while visiting family in Oregon for the holidays, we toured the Tillamook Dairy, saw the cheese assembly line, then tasted free samples, gave a hearty La Cheeserie to the crowd on the way out to a lot of blank stares. The connective tissue must have been on vacation. Yeah, of course, that's true. From Bill Isaacson, it occurred to me over the holidays that listening to my almost 90-year-old mother talk to her grandchildren is like listening to you talk to Jeff Ma. My mother's reaction to hearing about a TikTok video is the same as your reaction to Jeff Ma giving points to take the Bears. Really? No other words, just that and silence. What you and my mother are thinking is probably the same. You've got to be James Carville word. You're kidding me. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Bill Isaacson moved back to Milwaukee after some years in Deerfield, Illinois, one of 23 states with a Deerfield. And Deerfield is that school.
In the holdovers, yes.
Abraham, Silver Spring, wait a second.
Mr.
Niagara. What? Abraham and Silver Spring, wait a second. Niagara plays college hoops in the MAC. Wouldn't it make sense for a Midwest school to play basketball in the MAC instead of the MAC? Do you think that's a Midwest school? That's a whoop on geography. Then again, geography is no longer a priority with all of this realignment. The answer to all your questions is money. I guess Niagara saw that MAC money and couldn't resist. The MAC is the Mid-Atlantic Athletic Conference.
Yes.
And it's an Eastern Conference.
That's what I always thought.
And Niagara, though it is in the westernmost point
Is
of
still
New York State,
in the east.
it's still in the
Is
east.
New York an eastern state?
New York, completely an eastern state, right? If you're out on your bike tide, everyone is always to wear what?
But I still need a bit of milk, full fat, which I've warmed in the microwave.
There you go.
All right, so that is the Thursday, December, 28th episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show. And now, while I look for another podcast to play as we continue to fly over England along the eastern coast on our way to Dover on the southeastern coast, I'm going to go over some recent sports, so I do like to view these as a time capsule later on. We won't talk about the NCAA volleyball tournament that I was discussing last time I recorded an episode, just that Texas was able to sweep Nebraska in the national championship. But hopefully Nebraska comes back stronger next year. They're a very young team, so they've got a chance to win it all next year. Though Texas and Wisconsin and many other teams will also be very good next year as well. In recent sporting events in the NFL, Thursday, the Browns, who are actually good this year somehow, beat the Jets 37-20. On Saturday, December 30th, the Cowboys beat the Lions by a point. Just yesterday, on Sunday, December 31st, New Year's Eve, the Bills beat the Patriots, the Bears beat the Falcons, Colts beat the Raiders, the Rams beat the Giants by a single point. They've won a few in a row, and the 49ers have to play them next week, so I'm really concerned about the Rams. The Cardinals upset the Eagles, which was crazy. Cardinals, I think, are 4-12. The Eagles are, I think, 12-4 or 11-5, something like that, but it was a big upset. Saints beat the Buccaneers. 49ers clinched the number 1 seed in the NFC thanks to that Eagles loss and the 49ers win over the Commanders 27-10. Jaguars defeated the Panthers 26-0. Ravens destroyed the Dolphins 56-19. They definitely look like the best team in the NFL at this point on January 1st, 2024. The Texans defeated the Titans. The Steelers defeated the Seahawks by a touchdown. Broncos beat the Chargers. Chiefs beat the Bengals. And the Packers beat the Vikings last night. No Monday night football game this week or next week, I think, because we are at the end of the season. We did have one men's college basketball upset yesterday as Stanford defeated number 4 Arizona. I think they hit a bunch of three-pointers to get that win. They won 100-82. Once again, Arizona was number 4. Stanford was unranked. Number 12 Oklahoma beat Monmouth. Number 24 Ole Miss beat Bryant. And so no huge upsets. In terms of my teams, Duke played on Saturday, December 30th. They defeated Queens University, mighty Queens University, 106-69. I don't think there were any. Well, there was. I guess that's not an upset. Number 10 Marquette beat number 22 Creighton, 72-67. Well, Florida Gulf Coast did upset number 7 Florida Atlantic, 72-68. But number 3 Houston beat Pennsylvania. Number 2 Kansas beat Wichita State. Number 14 BYU beat Wyoming. Number 19 Memphis beat Austin Peay. And number 20, James Madison beat Texas State. In terms of the bowl games in college football, of course, today is the big day with the semifinals. We've got Michigan and Alabama and Washington and Texas. That's later tonight. Right now it's 10:58 Eastern Time. The bowl games start at noon. The first one is Wisconsin playing LSU in the ReliaQuest Bowl, something I didn't know existed until until right now, the name of it anyway. Oregon, number 8 Oregon plays number 23 Liberty in the Fiesta Bowl at 1. Number 17 Iowa plays number 21 Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl at 1 as well. And then we've got the 2 semifinals. Number 4 Alabama against number 1 Michigan at 5. And number 3 Texas at number 2 Washington at 8:45. And then unfortunately it's back to work tomorrow on Tuesday, January 2nd, but at least it's a short week. But that is what has been going on in sports. Now, for our next podcast, I think we will actually listen to a wrestling podcast. We'll listen to the most recent episode of the Masked Man Show, part of the Ringer Network, where they talk about CM Punk wrestling in Madison Square Garden, Cody Rhodes' contract situation, and AEW World's End Preview. So this is from December 28th as well.
I'm Yossi Solek, and I'm the host of All Electric this holiday season because it's beginning to...
Before we hit record. How long's their losing streak now? 27 games?
NBA records 27 straight losses for the Detroit Pistons.
Who are the 2023-20?
By the way, the Pistons did finally break that losing streak. I think it was on Friday, or maybe Thursday night that they broke that losing streak finally.
Or Detroit Pistons of pro wrestling. You know who has the longest losing streak in WWE history?
Was it 2009 MVP or 2008 MVP where he went on that crazy losing streak?
No, he is on the list, but no. There are several people with longer losing streaks than him.
I'm gonna guess either Barry Horowitz, the Brooklyn Brawler, or gosh, yeah, those are my 2 guesses: Barry Horowitz and the Brooklyn Brawler.
See, both of them are on the list. That's Brooklyn Brawler is number 4, and I'm looking at the Sportster.com right now. Legendary arbiter of truth and honesty. Brooklyn Brawler is number 4. Barry Horowitz is number 2. There's a sort of practical argument for both of them, although I don't know that I would have gone with either of them because, you know, it seems like WWE might have just given Horowitz a win at a house show along the way. You know, why is, because he's more notable than a lot of the dudes that you see on that just pop up at random house shows. You know.
Yes.
But you're right. The Brooklyn Brawler. Okay, so the Brooklyn Brawler is listed at number 4 on this list. Who knows? Rosa Mendez, surprisingly.
Damn, Rosa
is listed at number 3. She went 884 days without picking up a win. Barry Horowitz had a 131 loss streak. That was his peak. Obviously, he lost a lot of more matches than 131, but 131 in a row. Number 1, according to the Sportster, was Kurt Hawkins. I don't know if you remember him having that gimmick. A.K.A. Brian Myers, of course.
Yes.
But he was in the 2s. I mean, he was like at 260-something. It was, 269 matches.
That's crazy.
And was, celebrated a losing streak, sold merch, did the whole thing. I believe, though, the separate question. Do you know who has the most losses in WWE history?
The most losses?
Again, and this is according to Reddit. So, who knows? But I kind of believe this to be true. He's an active performer.
He's active right now. The most losses in WWE history now.
According to this Reddit article, yes.
I am going to have to guess. Gosh, so it's got to be somebody who's been on the roster for a long time.
Someone who we'd like to see lose. And gets a lot of, obviously working a lot of matches to be losing that many, right?
I don't know.
It's over, I'll just let you know, over 1,300 at this point.
1,300 losses? My God. I can't guess. Once you told me they were active, I'm like, gosh, there's no way. It's like R-Truth or somebody. No, it can't be R-Truth.
It's not a bad guess, but no. I'm thinking
who would it be? No, I don't think he works enough either.
Kerm. John Kerm, our old producer's back for it.
What up, Kerm? What's up?
Well, what do you think? Of all of the losingest wrestler in WWE history at well over 1,300 matches, not in a row. It's somebody, he's an active performer right now. Who is it?
Oh my God, The Miz.
The Miz is
The Miz, yes. I knew it. I was like, it's gotta be somebody that's been around for a long time. Me too. Oh yeah, okay, definitely The Miz. Okay, gotcha.
Been around forever, eats a lot of pins, somehow is in the prime of his career. Well, all you guys out there, all you guys and gals, all you professional wrestlers who are worried about your record, you can all only aspire to be the Miz someday, and he would name more pins than anybody else. Anyway, apologies to Kate Cunningham and the entire Detroit Pistons organization for bringing you into this. Let's start the show. What's going on, jabronis? It's Pitch Mr. Perfect, Skylar Aston.
Hey, this is Bruce Pritchard.
This is Ross Battle Season 1 champion Mike Lawrence.
Steve Z. This is Trey Kirby.
This is your girl, WWE superstar, the legit boss, Sasha Banks. Hi, this is Lillian Garcia.
What's going on?
I'm Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm AJ Styles, the phenomenal one, if you will, and you're listening.
You are listening to the Masked Man Show.
The Masked Man Show.
Welcome to the Masked Man Show with Kaz. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you as well. We're in that weird fog between Christmas and New Year's where you don't know what day it is, you don't know what's going on, so...
You don't know you have a podcast or
I
recorder.
don't know I have a podcast or go, oh wait, today is, Thursday? Okay, yeah, let's fire up the microphone, so... Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. This is the first time we talked. How was your holiday?
Holidays are great, man. We are in the home stretch of baby number 2, so we are just waiting around and just taking it easy, and the babies were fine. They enjoyed the holiday. Went all out for Christmas, and the wife was happy, the baby's happy, everybody's in good spirits right now. That's all
Some
you can
people
ask
might
for,
have
man.
noticed you live tweeting your Christmas shopping days leading up to the holiday, so I'm glad that all worked out for you.
It worked out, yes, but I'm an old-fashioned guy, man. People still do the Amazons and ordering online and stuff like that. Nah, man, I gotta experience them all. I gotta see and touch stuff and smell, and I gotta feel the tiredness in my legs from walking around the mall 4, 5, 6, 7 times in one sitting before I actually feel accomplished. So, yeah. Shout out to the folks that are still hoofing it in the malls and still doing old-fashioned Christmas shopping, not like you Gen Zers who just order everything else online, man. Get outside, see some stuff, talk to some people.
That's good life advice in general, not just for shopping.
That's a fact, yes.
Yeah, holidays are fun over here too. We thought we were laying low just by not going anywhere. But
Right, we did the same.
But then you have like 12 things that you have to go to. We had 4 Christmases in a day somehow by not making plans. So there we go.
Well, here's the best thing about having a baby on the way. She's a perfectly built-in excuse to do absolutely nothing. It was at least 4 holiday parties that were just like, yeah, we'd like to, but... And in the back of my head, I'm like, yes. So it was for everything that we got coming up in the future with our lives. It was nice to just not have the stress of holiday anxiety and traveling a billion different places in 4 or 5 days, and everyone sort of understood that. So it was good. It was good. I can't complain.
I know probably because of the schedule that you're referring to, you probably didn't make it to MSG to see Mr. CM Punk out there. I didn't make it either, but CM Punk made it to MSG for Christmas.
Man, it looked like an insane show too, by the way. I wish I got to go.
What do you think about this whole conversation that's going on online about how many of the people who were there at MSG, because they were like chanting "You still got it," which was a weird thing to chant somebody who was an active wrestler at another company like 5 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
Did you think that there was a significant portion of the WWE audience who is just unaware who is unaware that CM Punk has done anything since he left the company 10 years ago?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I definitely do think that if there's any Listen, that yearly MSG post Christmas show is probably as casual of an audience you're gonna get every single year in Madison Square Garden for WWE, right? So I mean, do people believe that I think a good portion of the audience is also, I don't want to say hardcore fans, but people who follow professional wrestling outside of WWE.
Yeah, I think I just kind of walk around with the assumption that everybody's a diehard now. It's like we all have stories about going to an event and having some like 6-year-old next to us tell us about what the dirt sheets are saying. It's like, I don't know, I just like everybody's a diehard.
I guess, but at the same time, man, like, I think that you still got a chance more towards, like, like, even if you did see him wrestle Samoa Joe in Wembley Stadium a few months ago, those are still two guys who've been wrestling for a very, very long time, and I think you still got a chance.
Oh, you think you still got it's appropriate regardless?
It's appropriate regardless, right? Like, I think, there's a little bit of that, I don't know the proper word for it, but people just feel a little bit, I wish I could find the right word right now. It's slipping my mind. But
like
basically,
nostalgic or whatever? Like, it's
not nostalgic, but it's almost defensive. Like, what do you mean you didn't watch All Out? You didn't watch this, that, and the third? It's like, no, it's not that. It's just that this dude's been wrestling since, what, 2000? 2001? Yeah. Like, he's been at it for a long time. I think it would have been proper regardless, you know what I mean? And on top of that, if you're just watching, WWE product, there's a big portion of pro wrestling fans who just watch WWE. And I know it's shocking to a lot of people who listen to this show, because I'm assuming that most people who listen to this show watch all types of professional wrestling. But yes, especially in New York City, especially in Christmas.
If Ric Flair, when he went back to WCW in '93, had gotten a "You Still Got It" chant, that wouldn't have been nuts, right? He just was wrestling in WWE, putting on great matches, but it's just like, it's sort of a welcome home,
Of course, but the whole AEW of it all is like, what do you mean? It's like it's disrespectful to him. It's not that. It's a mixture of that combination of casual fan in New York City in Madison Square Garden the day after Christmas, which is literally a mix of, yes, some real deal watch every week wrestling fans, but mostly it's tourists. Mostly it's people who are from all over the world who are in New York City who are like, hey, like, let's go watch the Graps at Madison Square Garden, which they do every single year. So, and on top of that, Madison Square Garden treated it like he had wrestled in 10 years, to be honest, right? Like, they gave the special plaque for selling out the arena. He was on the marquee. Like, it was his first match back in WWE in over 10 years. Like, so they treated it much more like how WWE wanted it treated, which is what you do outside of these confines a lot of times doesn't really matter. It doesn't really count.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is, man.
Do you think he gets more credit for selling out MSG than Dominic Mysterio?
You mean 20-year veteran Dominic Mysterio? Get it right. You know what I mean? I mean, that place is gonna sell out regardless, man. They selling out everywhere, and obviously Punk being in there puts it over the top, man. Like, I was in Barclays a couple weeks ago, and even in Barclays, it sold out for a TV taping. So, I mean, WWE's in a wild state of success right now, and getting CM Punk at the time that they got him to end their year at one of their trademark shows that they do every single year. I mean, he gets a lot of credit for that, but it's all happenstance, man. It's all culmination of an incredible year for WWE this past 2023.
No, it has been a great year. And you're right. CM Punk, I think, is best looked at as sort of icing on the cake.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Did you see any of the Dom match online?
I did. I mean, I watched the whole. I felt like I watched the whole thing on Twitter, or at least on X.
Yeah.
Man, shout out Dom Mysterio, man. He earned that spot, by the way. Like, that's a hell of a spot to be in, and it kind of shows you how much trust they got in him.
If anybody's gonna beat the Miz's loss record 10 years from now, it's Dom Mysterio.
Dom's got a solid shot at it. He definitely does. But there were a lot of standout moments that I saw from social media. The Cody and Shinsuke Bull Rope match was said to be really good. I love the tribute to Brody Lee and Bray Wyatt that Seth Rollins did at the end of the night with the Fireflies was amazing. Man, Sami Zayn was there, who has been on TV for a while, and I thought that was pretty cool. And another thing that I thought was dope to see was Jey Uso is over like Rover, man. Like that dude got a rock star treatment when he came at Madison Square Garden, and watching all 19,000 of the people at MSG, rock their hands up and down to his entrance music. That's some bucket list stuff for any professional wrestler. So that seemed like more of as much as an arrival for Jey Uso this past year as was the Roman Reigns match, as was the turn him on the bloodline and going solo. Like that's as much as a signifier that dude has truly arrived. So it was dope to see. Great show, man. I wish I got to go.
Yeah, me too. Just absolutely amazing. I don't know, man. It's just so strange to watch Punk. Even watch Punk receiving that plaque that you mentioned. Just like good-natured CM Punk.
Right.
When he got it, he was like, dude, I'm horrible at gifts. Like whatever. Just like he was like, I know I'm gonna react incorrectly to this. And he was like, no, this is like really cool. I don't know. Seems like he's enjoying himself. It's a very.
And I've worked for Madison Square Garden for the past 4 NBA seasons, and outside of doing actual games, you get to see those moments where the people who work at MSG are appreciative of the people who help sell out the house. And the last time I saw something like that was when I was doing an interview with Israel Adesanya right before UFC when he was defending the middleweight title against Alex Pereira, I want to say. And they'll do the things where they'll either give you the jersey or they'll give you some sort of commemorative thing, and that's a big deal, man. It may seem like some WWE propaganda, you know what I mean? But when Madison Square Garden recognizes that you helped sell this place out, you know what I mean? That is a big place to be at, and it doesn't really hit you unless you've actually been inside those backstage confines in the arena, because you see all the pictures of all the people who just historic, not just people, you know what I mean? I'm talking about way back from Sinatra to Hove to Beyonce, it's just incredible, Muhammad Ali, you know what I mean? Real, culture shifters, and pro wrestling is in there too. You'll see the Hulk Hogan's, see the Steve Austins, all those folks, and it's wild to see John Cena. It's wild to see that in the beginning of 2023, and seeing how 2023 ended was that sort of vision. Yes. Of CM Punk being congratulated by Madison Square Garden for selling out a WWE show. It really does cap off a crazy year, bro.
This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drop guaranteed to fit your bill, drive, and seating.
For travel, working out, or working from home.
The WWE's trying to lock up Cody Rhodes to a long-term deal. I don't know if his contract is active, is nearing its end, or if they're just trying to, lock it in, give him that extension or whatever. Somebody on Twitter said.
I've heard many different things about that. Many different things. But what did you hear?
No, I just saw somebody said Cody Rhodes has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever.
Well, go back to AEW?
Yeah.
I heard that there was a contract on the table. I heard that he hasn't signed. I also heard that he did sign, and I heard that was handled in the late summer.
So you got conflicting reports.
I've got conflicting reports from several people about Cody's contract situation, but I think
there's no way it doesn't get done.
Yeah, I think from everybody I heard, everyone said they don't see a situation where it does not get done. You know what I mean? It almost seems like the offer is there. I guess it's just matters of dotting I's and crossing T's or whatever. And then I've also heard people say no, it's already done. There's no story here. So who knows, man? It's one of those things that would be interesting as hell if he was going into WrestleMania 40 as a free agent possibly. But I've heard from people that I truly trust that is that he's locked in already. But who knows, man? We could all be surprised. I've been surprised before, but
I'm surprised by him. I'm surprised by the people we've talked about in the past 2 minutes. Yes, there's been a lot of surprises.
Exactly. But yeah, that'll be. Me personally, I was kind of wishing and hoping that he didn't sign before WrestleMania 40. You know what I mean? Like, I would hope that would be another sort of, you know, I was thinking about this whole time. I'm like, all right, if we're going to do the whole Finish the Story campaign with Cody Rhodes, how do you keep people interested going
Like,
in?
you should say, like, if I don't win, I quit?
No, just be like, just leave it out there. People forget, man, like, that first Brock Roman Reigns main event at WrestleMania 31, a lot of the intrigue of that match was that Brock was about to be a free agent, right? Like, there was talk of him going back to UFC, and then, you know, there was all this building up to Roman Reigns, so, like, I think a lot of the sour taste that fans had in their mouth already was like, oh, okay, here we go. Here comes the obvious crowning of Roman Reigns, and that's why I think a lot of people soured on it, and why Seth Rollins' cash-in was received so well, because a lot of, you know, the news is out there that Brock was going to be a free agent. I think if I remember correctly, they announced on the ESPN like that weekend that he signed.
Yes, I totally forgot. Yes, that's true. And then you know, that was sort of the beginning, in a lot of ways, of the anti-Roman movement.
Yes,
because as soon as you find out they put him in a position where he's got to win, then he officially becomes the anointed one.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's why I'm just like, man, I hope Cody didn't sign a contract yet, because that would bring a whole new wrinkle to this Finish the Story sort of thing, right? Like, if he's going in there with no contract as the main event, let's assume he's the main event against Roman Reigns, that brings a whole new wrinkle to, like, damn, is this dude Roman gonna win again? You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. I think it can be really interesting. So
maybe that's why you're getting conflicting reports. Maybe he didn't sign it and they're trying to leave that out there. That would be really smart.
It would be really smart. It would give a whole new sort of feather into what this story can be, you know. And obviously the CM Punk stuff gives it another wrinkle. The Rock floating out there gives it another wrinkle. If you go out there and say, hey, Cody Rhodes might go back to AEW, he might be done after this. This might be his last match in WWE. And AEW's clearly out there, and one could only assume he would welcome his ass back with open arms. I'd play with it. I'd leave that out there as long as I possibly can to make that super interesting.
Oh my gosh. Now you're just messing with people.
But who knows, man? I don't know nothing, man. I just talk.
Finish the story thing is, I'm still not sure.
Still not sure?
Listen,
how would you feel if was it April 7th, the day after WrestleMania? Roman Reigns is still your undisputed Universal Champion.
I'll say this, I was talking to somebody the other day, I feel like there are a lot more and more people think that Roman's going to win. Because now we got all these Hogan records, whatever, and I'm on the record thinking that's fool's errand.
Yeah.
I get claiming, I get, the Gunther win, taking the Honky Tonk Man's record. I get even what they've done with Roman so far. Just swallow up some of those old records, and make it seem like the most important thing in the world is happening right now. But just beating your own record for its own sake is just kind of crazy, I mean, I don't think WWE's shown any particular interest in, like disappearing Hulk Hogan from the record books to begin with, compared to how one might expect them to if they were really interested in it. But Roman's not going to be around that much longer. I mean, what is the point of destroying Hogan's streak just to then have it hanging out there for somebody else to take in the future?
I'm not necessarily sure about that. I think we've all kind of assumed that once Roman Reigns loses the title, that he'll just sort of go away. And I've never subscribed to that. I don't think, for one, I think his bump count is probably surprisingly low now, especially after these last 2 years. And he's not old, right? And I'm not sure if Hollywood's knocking down his door to do the next Marvel movie or whatever, you know what I'm saying, that's coming up. So I don't necessarily know if him losing a title means we don't see Roman as much anymore.
No, I don't. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's not going to be around that much longer, right? And at some point he's going to drop the title. I just don't know why you would make the assumption that, and I've said this before, so apologies for repeating myself. I think it's kind of ridiculous to make the assumption
that 10 years from now, Roman Reigns is going to be still on friendly terms with WWE, still like as good of an ambassador as John Cena is. Probably, I mean, even John Cena's not around that much, right? I mean, you got to be. It's like I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's really worth it to me to put this whole thing on hold for another year. But anyway, maybe that's just me. Anyway, if Roman is going to hang on to it, though, if that's the story, if there's any whiff, I'm not even saying whiff. I don't care if news gets out there. If Roman Reigns is winning this title until they break Hulk Hogan's record, keep Cody Rhodes the hell away from him. Cody Rhodes cannot lose in the WrestleMania main event again, and that is going to be, I think, regardless of what the booking is, and maybe, I mean, whatever. Maybe making it look like Cody's going to win, projecting the Cody win, and then having Cody lose at the last minute is exactly the kind of swallow, just like wrestling fans faint all over the arena ending that they're hoping for, just like the last one, except even worse. Maybe that's the plan. But I feel like the run up to WrestleMania is gonna, if that's the match, is gonna deflate a little bit because it's gonna feel like Cody's gonna definitely win, right? It's not exactly the Lesnar Reigns situation you were talking about before, but you can't go in with just like it feeling like a given, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, if we have CM Punk and Seth Rollins, I mean, I don't think there's any way you can project who's going to win that, and that's going to make that match seem so much more vital. And not only that, but the real-world implication of who wins that match.
Real-world implication as in...
Meaning you put over Seth because he's the company guy, or you put over Punk because he's the bigger draw. What does that mean for Seth? What does that mean for the future of WWE if you put Punk over? What does it mean for the future of Punk and WWE if you put Seth over? You know, I mean, the conversation that we have about the fallout from that match, and I'm not saying fallout like someone's going to get punched backstage, but hey, who knows? Is going to be much more exciting than the other match. You know, and that's going to keep us just like on the edge of our seat. Anyway, I love Cody Rhodes. I think they'll find a way to tell the story because they always do. I remember last year, it felt like coming out of the Rumble that there wasn't.
Well, he wasn't even here. Yeah, he wasn't here for most of last year, and then
but last year coming out of the Rumble, it was just like, okay, we're shoehorning him in here. Like, this should be Sammy's spot, and they made it really relevant. They made it, WrestleMania night. We didn't feel like there was anything missing. Yeah. So, listen, I'm not going to overdo it here, but.
It's an embarrassment of riches at the top of their card with WWE. They have legitimately, and I'm not just talking about just Cody, like they have legitimately 5 people. 5? Maybe 4. 4 people who I think could conceivably main event WrestleMania alongside Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? There's Punk. There's The Rock. There's Cody.
I don't know if they have The Rock, but yes, okay.
I mean, conceivably, it wouldn't be out the realm of possibilities if The Rock
that's true.
entered number 30 at the Royal Rumble this year and won the thing, you know what I mean? Gosh, I mean, there's a world where Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, like, I think of it like this, right? Like, I remember, I've gotten to the point where it's like, you never want to assume you know what the main event of WrestleMania is going to be because I remember the last time they were in Dallas, not this past one, but the one before that, where it just seemed like everybody was injured. They were just decimated by injuries, you know what I mean? That, not to say that they can't get there, but they can tell enough stories where, knock on wood, somebody that they have slotted in those spots, whether it's Cody, Seth, or CM Punk, unfortunately couldn't make it or got hurt or something happened along the way. They still have people, their top of the card is still so strong that they could still conceivably have an epic WrestleMania without Cody, Seth, or Punk at the top of the card, right? Like, I even think Jey Uso, man. Like, I even think Jey Uso has worked his way into a spot that if they had to shift gears and be like, yo, man, we don't got Cody, we don't have Seth, we don't have CM Punk, who's gonna headline WrestleMania 40 alongside Roman Reigns, right? Like, I think Jey Uso could possibly.
If that happens, you realize that you jinxed everyone's gonna remember this podcast.
They absolutely will.
The day that Kaz jinxed the health of everybody.
Well, this is why Roman has specific dates, all right? Because that is one person you can't afford to get hurt at any time, and Punk too, I guess. But I'm just saying, I don't say it in the sense that I want anyone to get hurt. I say it in the sense that I think WWE has done a great job of building up everybody who was supposed to be important as important. Hell, I could even see a world where Gunther wins the Royal Rumble.
Well, I was going to say, if you have a little runway, you can build somebody else up. This is a fun game. This is like a great wrestling bar game. You should just say, have the entire roster in front of you.
Yeah.
And you say, who main events WrestleMania? And you pick the two people. And then you start eliminating them one by one. Now who main events WrestleMania? Now who main events WrestleMania? See how many injuries away. How many injuries away is Gunther for main eventing WrestleMania? How many injuries away is Austin Theory for main eventing WrestleMania?
That's a fun game to play. Yeah, Gunther is at least 3 injuries away from main eventing WrestleMania, right?
Mm-hmm. If Sasha Banks comes back, how many injuries away is she from being the last match on Sunday night?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Damn.
That can only be like 4 injuries.
Something terrible would have to happen to Roman Reigns.
No, he's injured. He can't
happen. Okay, all right. I think Sasha Banks is 6 injuries. 6 injuries away from being the last match on WrestleMania Sunday.
Yeah. All right, well.
And even then, they might just call up Stone Cold Steve Austin or Brock Lesnar and be like, hey,
you're absolutely right.
Or something.
That's a different match. How many injuries away is Stone Cold Steve Austin from just pulling on the tights? Like, you have to do this. I think there's so many. I think even The Rock would be totally susceptible to somebody calling and saying, guys, we
need this. Yeah.
Cena.
But even then, Cena.
I don't want to make this too tragic. Yeah, you're right. I don't want to make this too tragic. But let's just say there was a. Anyway, Christian Cage versus Adam Copeland.
So I'm not sure how long the microphone was out, but back on now, and we'll finish the podcast.
I kind of hope they just blow this up for now. I just hope. I mean, I don't know what the move is. I think it's kind of like Christian retains, but Edge somehow comes out on top.
I think Christian's gonna retain somehow. Definitely.
Edge just doesn't care, right? He just somehow gets DQ'd. Like he can't get DQ'd obviously in this match, so that makes it a little bit interesting. I would love to see either of these guys wrestle, have most of the other people we've talked about in the coming months, right? Wouldn't you love to see just like Adam Copeland swerve for a couple of months? Like, wouldn't that be interesting?
It definitely would be, and I think Adam Copeland. I think I was one of the first people he said he wants to work with when he came over here. So, I mean, I'm interested in seeing. I definitely want to see what Adam does after this Christian feud, or maybe it doesn't end right here. Maybe it keeps going just for a little bit.
I think this is put a pin in it moment. I feel like the right move is to, you're not ended outright, nobody gets absolutely slaughtered, but this is the end for a while. Let them both go their separate ways, and we'll come back together and all in, or whatever. And then we got the mush pot match. Ricky Starks, Big Bill, and then Kyle Fletcher and Powerhouse Hobbs, the Don Callis family, versus the reunited Chris Jericho and New Guy, Sammy Guevara, along with Sting and Darby Allin.
Meh. I don't care who wins either way. You know, if you're just gonna throw a match together in 3 days' time that quickly with a bunch of people who weren't on TV a couple weeks ago, I guess I'll go with the good guys. I'll pick Sting and Darby. And Jericho and Sammy.
Sting and Darby always win these kind of matches, and I do think that this is a good look for them. I mean, this is not listen, this is not the match that you want, but this is better than a battle royal or whatever, would have been used to fill this space.
Yeah, obviously we know what's happened with Kenny, and it seems like it had to be a little bit of a audible for this, so I can't get too mad at that.
For those of you that don't know, I mean, I guess everybody knows, but if you don't know, Kenny left for WWE, so we're just kidding. Kenny's got diverticulitis.
Yes, thank you for saying it for me, Dave.
I think that's all the matches. That's all I'm going to talk about anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'll order it. I'll watch it. It'll be great. Can't wait to see it.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be absolutely sick. It's nice. It's nice watching wrestling on the holidays.
Yeah, man, they can say a lot about AEW, but they give you your money's worth when it comes to these pay-per-views. So I'll definitely be watching, and I'm sure it's going to kick ass, man. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I just like to laid back vibe, this time of year. You can just put your feet up and not worry about how this AEW pay-per-view is going to make doing work for the next 2 days if possible because you're losing sleep. So, that's nice. It's really nice. Also my birthday the next day, by the way, so.
Hey, happy birthday, Shoes.
It's birthday season.
Yes.
My birthday is the 31st. My 4-year-old's turning 5 on January 1st. You're having a baby the next day.
Yes, man.
Birthday season, man.
Birthday season is in full effect. Lots of new life, new year. This is our last Masked Man of the year, man.
This is it.
We really
didn't get through all the wrestlers of the year, but we're gonna make a comeback on that. Next week, well, we'll be back next week. You'll be preoccupied.
Yes.
In the best possible way.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll have some guests on the show. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You wanna get some plugs in on the way out?
Yeah, man. Just catch me on Accountant Fanatic Sportsbook. I'm in a bunch of I'm in the new episode of This Is Awesome on Peacock with most awesome WWE action figures and toys, which is really fun to shoot. So check me out there. And that's all I got, man. Happy holidays, happy new year. Wealth and health to everybody who listens to the show. Appreciate everybody who has rocked with us all year long for all of the years that we've been doing this show. I don't say it enough, man, but you guys are really awesome, and I really appreciate each and every one of you guys who listen to this show. I'm super grateful that I get to sit and yap about wrestling with one of my good buds every single week, and it's never lost on me. So thank you guys so much for always making this happen.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And it's a nice. You said it exactly right. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. You make all this possible. I should do the CM Punk bit now, but there's some people out there.
There's some people out there who do not. Yeah.
Thank you, Kaz. You make this so much more fun than it would be otherwise. Thank you to John Kerma for producing this episode. Thanks to.
All right, so I'm not sure how much of the podcast was cut out because the microphone went out or was muted. But we are going to land, I think, in Lille, France, which is pretty close. We're coming up on it. We're flying along the border of France and Belgium right now at Watsu and Beauchep, however you pronounce those. Well, Watsu's in, I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it, is in Belgium. It looks like Beauchep, however you pronounce that, is in France. But we are going to land in Lille, and to close out this flight, we are going to finish with another wrestling podcast. This one, the show called Cheap Heat, also part of the Ringer Network. They discuss the WWE Hall of Fame speculation, CM Punk versus Dom Mysterio, and the Mount Rushmore of reindeers. So here we go. This is the December 29th episode of Cheap Heat, a wrestling show on the Ringer.
Emmys, Golden Globes, Oscars. The reviews are in. And we will try our best to live up to that this week. I am coming to you from New York City, your forever 24/7 champion. The physically large stat guy, Greg, appears to be at home in Philadelphia. And 36 and 35 Dipperstein has made it back to Los Angeles. Dip, do you have it looks like you have like a haircut of sorts, like something's going on.
Oh my God, my hair was so long. So I came back from Florida, and immediately, first thing I did was go get a haircut from the airport.
But is it me, or like did you take down the sides? Like you actually have kind of like a faded kind of situation on the sides there.
This is what I do. This is a, I mean, you see me very often, but not often enough to know that this is the day one haircut look. This is day one.
Have you ever seen that, SUG?
I've never seen that. I'm kind of shocked to hear that this is day one-ish.
Yeah, I didn't know this was day one-ish. I did not know that. I'm like,
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I thought you were just like a trim guy. I didn't think you actually had you showed much skin there on the side. You're showing skin.
I have beautiful side of the head skin.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people talk. I've heard
my temple skin is beautiful. Very nice.
Well, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Temple skin?
Wait, temples?
The temples.
Is that like a wrist situation? Or?
No, the temples of my head.
Guys, I hope everyone is doing well wherever you're participating in this podcast. Hopefully most of you are listening while sitting around on vacation and running errands, not doing anything. But to those of you who are stuck on your way to a job, I'm sorry, and we hope that we can give you at least a few minutes of reprieve. We are right now stuck right in the middle of happy holiday time. To me, this is the only time of the year, December 26th through December 31st. Up through December 30th, because on the 31st you start saying Happy New Year. 26th through the 30th, prime happy holidays. What are your thoughts?
I caught 2 Happy New Years yesterday, though.
Oh, really?
I did. I caught have a happy and healthy New Year yesterday.
Sure. Have a happy and healthy. Yeah, sure.
They went above and beyond with that one yesterday.
Here's my take on it. I don't say Happy New Year to anyone. Nothing.
You never start?
Nope. I go straight to Christmas. Merry Christmas.
But you can't do that you doing it now on December 29th?
Yeah. I'm still on Merry Christmas. I haven't given up on it.
I stopped Merry Christmas on the 27th. I stopped.
It's all for Merry Christmas.
A big part of my, personality is that I'm, Jewish and this and that. So for me, saying Merry Christmas, it's like I love it. Puts a big smile on my face.
To say Merry Christmas. And by the way, which
people see it as ironic, but not, and it's the kind of which coming from me. It's like
by the way, which is hilarious because it's entirely shtick. They would think that as a result, it's funny because Dip is lighting menorahs at home. Amanda is not lighting a menorah at home. There's no home site unless your parents are visiting or your aunt invites you over to the house. There's not there's not a sniff of a menorah.
No. By the way, I don't even have the electronic one anymore. I really need an electronic menorah.
It's the only way to go. And you leave it on day by day, and you light the light for that day. It is nice.
If anyone wants to know what I want for my 37th birthday, it's one of the electronic menorahs.
By the way, an item that the look has not changed in 40 years.
It's the one with the classics. It's the one with the orange lights.
Orange lights, you turn, that's it. And you turn the light and it goes on. And it's one of the biggest falsehoods about the holiday season is the ridiculous false equivalency of Hanukkah and Christmas. That's not to say there aren't households where Hanukkah is a big deal. But in the households of people like Dipperstein and myself, the secular, culturally Jewish crowd, Hanukkah is only relevant when you have small children. The second the children are older, the holiday is dead. It means nothing. It's
I'm going to go one step further than that, okay? I would say sometimes we don't even know when it is. When is Hanukkah this year? Everyone asks each other, when is Hanukkah? Oh, it's early this year. Doesn't it start? Oh, isn't this the first night of Hanukkah? Wait, that was last week. When is Hanukkah this year? Oh, it's so early.
And you know what's hilarious about that? That is the ultimate proof that it is such a nonsense. Imagine people going, well, it's Christmas this year. What are we doing Christmas?
We don't even know when it is.
It's not. What kind of real holiday has a rotating date? In 5744 on the Jewish calendar. There are some things that I would change in a heartbeat. Like the rotation, you gotta just set a day. If Christmas every year is December 24th, now listen, I suppose it's the same day on the Jewish calendar, whatever that fakakta thing means. But we need an American Hanukkah day. It's December 21st every year. Boom, done. Runs right through Christmas.
You get the 8 days before Christmas. Then it's Christmas. Then Kwanzaa gets the 7 days after Christmas. Happy New Year.
Oh, by the way, because Kwanzaa starts the 26th.
It starts on the 26th.
Again, utterly made up. At least that's recently
all holidays are made up.
Yeah, but no, you gotta kind of bow to things like Ramadan and Christmas. I mean, these things have.
They're older.
Yes, those are locked in.
I don't celebrate Kwanzaa, but I'm saying if we're mapping out the holiday calendar, just because Hanukkah rotates doesn't mean they get to just bump in on Christmas and Kwanzaa now.
Listen, Hanukkah's jumping ahead of Kwanzaa. Hanukkah at least has been around before 1980.
Let me tell you something with Hanukkah, okay? Somebody gets up one time during the year and they say, all right, this is when we're going to start Hanukkah this year. And then they just do it. And then it's like whisper down the lane. Somebody tells someone it's December 8th, okay? It's gonna be December 8th, and then it's whispered down the lane and it eventually gets
it's
the Jews.
Isn't it more accurately though, Dip, that somebody wakes up and says, oh wait, this is when we're gonna start the new year this year, and then all the other holidays get bumped around.
Yeah, I suppose. So, no, what it really is, I guess, is that the days are different in the quote-unquote Jewish calendar than the calendar we observe. So, as a result, it's always off. But, come on, can we just all celebrate Christmas? Listen, sometimes you gotta give the nod. Sometimes, this is the problem with the world. Everyone wants their thing to be as good as the other thing. Sometimes you gotta take the L. And when it comes to winter holidays, I think everyone else has to punt and just give it up to the big guy in the red outfit. And listen, it's the gimmick, literally the number one gimmick of all time in history.
Oh no, seriously, he's got the suit, he's got the songs, you know what day it is, he got the routine, you set out those milk and cookies.
He's got his friends are over. Think about it, when you think about it, the reindeer are essentially the bloodline, right? Like even the reindeer are over. Rudolph is Jey Uso, essentially. Over like Rove. Rudolph, that's how over Santa is that Rudolph has been over this entire.
Can you name another reindeer? Are you about to attempt to
name them all?
Prancer,
Dancer, Blitzen.
Dancer, yeah.
Blitzen?
Oh yeah, Blitzen.
Who's Vixen?
He's Prancer's brother.
I've never heard of Blitzen. There's no Blitzen. There's Blitzen. Blitzen is something you order with it's like a cheese thing, it's like wrapped in phyllo dough.
Your Blitzes.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. It's Prancer, Dancer, Rudolph,
Blitzen. I don't think I'm making that up. I think that's a real term.
Is Blitzen on the list?
I'm looking.
Blitzen is on the list. Let me tell you, he does not make sense. Blitzen does not make the Mount Rushmore of reindeer.
No, he doesn't. I remember. All right. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, and Rudolph.
Comet, that's what we forgot. It's Rudolph's the guy. Everyone knows he's the guy. It's all about Rudolph.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it.
It is.
Yeah, no.
Rudolph is the Roman Reigns of reindeer.
No,
That's a name for a reindeer. Vixen.
No, Rudolph remains he's main event Rudolph, and he's the one who people start to believe every once in a while will take out Santa. They're like, you know what? If anyone's going to take out Santa, it's going to be Rudolph.
Well, no, Santa's the wise man. Santa's the fat guy in the suit. He knows everything, sees everything.
You can't give Paul Heyman. He gets enough credit. He's not getting Santa Claus. Okay? I mean, for God's sake. Speaking of which, a lot of people speculating that Heyman will go into the Hall of Fame this year with it being in Philly.
I love it. I feel like that's a safe bet, right? Like, they got to do something ECW related. That's a speech I could get emotional from. I got to be honest. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in every way.
I just still can't believe you get emotional, though.
I get emotional.
But like, what's the emotion he's tapping into? Because Paul Heyman does a lot of great things.
I'll tell you.
Being emotional about him is not one of those things for me.
I'm gonna tell you, okay. I get very emotional when people get their due after long careers of work and sacrifice. So, you know, at award shows, in certain instances, not all instances, which I think are some, you know, they're fun to watch or whatever, but I think at certain award shows and at the Kennedy Center and at the Hall of Fame and like at certain thing, I just watched the Kennedy Center the other night.
Which one, Sandler?
No, the Kennedy Center Honors. That was the comedy award. No, this is Barry Gibb and Queen Latifah and Dionne Warwick, and they choose 5-6 luminaries.
Yes, the Kennedy Center Honors. Right. They choose
luminaries every year, or whatever. Eventually, you'll get it, I assume.
I can't wait. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I get when people get their due, I get emotional. And Paul Heyman in Philadelphia, his entire life has been devoted to entertaining us with, via wrestling. I will get emotional from that, for sure. I can't see myself getting, shed a tear emotional, but I can see myself getting, wanting to go through a wall, hype, excited emotional. I think Paul Heyman taps into that more than anything for me.
I don't. The only one, I'm trying to think which one's got me. Andy Kaufman got me emotional last year. No, I thought that was really
I thought it was amazing, but not emotional. When these old-time guys, man, that have been... Paul Heyman has been in the wrestling business since he's a kid. And he's 55 years old. Or 60, I don't know how old he is, but he has devoted his life, every year of his life, to making wrestling better and more entertaining.
Oh my, you really think that's what he's doing? I'm sorry, you're forcing me to argue with you. Have you ever met him? That's not what Paul. I'm friends with him. That's not what Paul's doing. He spent his entire life getting himself over. Are you crazy?
But in service of us, ultimately.
Ultimately, yeah. That sure. And if they stopped paying and it was just at the service of us, he'd be there every year. He'd be the first one out there.
I don't think that you can't say that.
You're doing a disservice to Paul Heyman. You are doing a disservice, Craig. Do you see where I'm going there? He is literally the ultimate businessman. That is what he happens to be a brilliant entertainer.
I think he loves wrestling and thinks it's great.
Well, he definitely loves it and thinks it's great. That is not even in question. But what I'm just saying is you making it sound like it's been this lifetime charity act for Paul Heyman is...
I'm not missing. You're taking it to the extreme. I didn't say that. Well, of course, it's Philadelphia. It's Paul Heyman. Of course, he's taking it to the extreme.
Well done. Well done.
That's not how I feel. But I think that he's should get his due. He deserves it. He's Paul Heyman.
I 100% agree with you. I just want, in a perfect world where it wasn't wrestling, that dude wouldn't be now to me. He's still too current in this moment. That's not how I view the Hall of Fame. Now, I'll enjoy it if they do it.
I agree.
It works because it's Philadelphia and all those things. But if this was if we treated this like a competitive sport, Paul's still in his prime. It's just not time. He's killing it. He's gonna have. We don't even know what's next for him in the next couple of years. He'll never retire.
ever. You know that.
He'll probably, yeah, but there'll be a time when it'll be more reasonable than now, when he's like sort of in one of the main runs of his life.
That's why I feel like Ray shouldn't have gotten it last year. Ray should be in the Hall of Fame, no questions asked. He's a legend.
You're right. By the way,
but I mean, he's on Raw every week. He's on SmackDown. Whatever. It's ridiculous.
They announced last week in the dirt sheets that Ray and Dom both signed 5-year deals.
Right.
Yeah. I think you made this argument.
He'll be around for a little while.
Yeah, I think you made this argument. I don't remember if you made it then, but I feel like you did. Now, with what's happened, Ray absolutely should not have gotten it last year. And especially if you weren't even going to use it, I thought what was going to happen was he was going to get inducted and then lose on Sunday and be done.
Yeah.
Oh no, he got all the flowers. He got all the flowers in that.
He got all the, and now he's just rolling. And by the way, of course, if you asked me to choose, I would much just rather have him around and do this for as long as he possibly can. No doubt.
Yeah, it's great to see.
But it does kind of taint the Hall of Fame a little bit. Let's be realistic.
Is it tainted because somebody's active in it, or is it just like?
It shouldn't be that they're fully active still.
The dirt sheets are reporting that it's like Triple H is now, quote, in charge of who gets into the Hall of Fame and who doesn't now that Vince is out of the picture. And I think that he has more respect for the history of wrestling maybe at that point than Vince did to get over a storyline. I think Triple H does have that emotional core about the Hall of Fame that we do too. And so I think it'll improve at this point. Although I just now they're talking about, I know we love Gail Kim, and I know you're friends with Gail Kim, and she's only been very nice to me in any interaction I've had with her, and God bless. She's wrestled during the time that I was really not watching that often. I mean, we're talking about Gail Kim in the Hall of Fame? I mean, that's crazy.
I didn't see what it.
To me, she is a Hall of Famer, but not because of her WWE run.
All right.
I think that's SUG. You would say that's fair, wouldn't you?
I would say that's fair, and there are people who are in with no real strong WWE run to speak of at all. So it wouldn't be like she's the first person to be in the Hall of Fame that didn't touch WWE in a meaningful way.
It is interesting though, because they her run here was not great and is not regarded as particularly fair or wonderful. And then her to go to the Hall of Fame would be interesting, because what she's really most probably known for is what she's done is you were going to say exiting the ring?
Yeah.
Yeah, the most memorable Gail Kim moment was her eliminating herself from a battle royal and walking out of the company.
If we're talking about female wrestlers who are not in, how could you? It's got now that Triple H is in charge. I don't know if this hurts or helps. It's got to be China. How is it not China? It's crazy. It doesn't. It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Dude, you could argue China could headline a class.
Oh, I think she should. I think she could for sure.
I wonder what that. I don't know.
She's part of defining an era of wrestling.
And also, I gotta say,
not just defining an era, right? She completely upended what women's wrestling was in WWE at that time. Because sure, Alundra Blaze / Medusa and Bull Nakano had some hard-hitted matches that were different from the 80s, but after that era ended and women's wrestling disappeared, when it came back, it was bra and panties matches and sex appeal and the whole nine, and she brought that powerhouse style to it, that actual wrestling feel to it that you see in women today come with, quite honestly. She was just way ahead of her time with it.
Yeah, that would be a major one. Dip, I never want to take anyone else's job, all right? I'm not in the business of calling for other people's jobs. But I got to tell you, the number one gig I should do every year for WWE is host the Hall of Fame. Well, it really is.
All right, so we have landed just south of Lille at Lesquin, or however you pronounce it. We'll try to remember that for next time. And we will... So this airport is actually... No, that's where I was trying to land, I think. So we're just southeast of Lille. I think next time we will try to get to maybe Amiens. And again, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing these. Reims. And then eventually Paris. And then back to the coast for Mont Saint-Michel. So we will do that next time on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour. Until then, goodbye.